All right, hello, and welcome, Demasians. This is your host, RISTE, here for the first ever Knights of Demacia Roundtable, and we got some special guests here today talking about your true champion here, Garen, the Might of Demacia. This is a pretty special event because I don't know how many Garen mains have attempted such a grand type of gathering between like-minded spinning individuals. I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves in just a brief moment. You guys know who I am, of course. I'm your host tonight. We got about an hour and a half to talk all crazy things about Garen, but we got a lot of topics to cover, and I'm really excited to see what ideas and discussions we bring onto the table with these fine gentlemen here. I'm going to go ahead and let these people introduce themselves. We are missing one guest. I just want to let you guys know Moose Hater was supposed to be starting things off with us. He may be joining later, so apologies for his absence for the time being, but we have 4 of the guests here that would love to introduce themselves. I'll go ahead and start things off with Sunlight. Sunlight, let us know who you are.
Hey, I'm Sunlight, also known as I Am Sunlight. I'm pretty good at League of Legends and at Garen.
Yeah, he is. I think he's hit like what, rank 5 on North America, Wakanda. I don't remember what's ever.
That was season 11
Wakanda.
peak rank 5, yeah. Right above TF Blade. That was a good day.
Oh dang,
Mm.
a true Garen gamer here. Next up, we're gonna move on to Mew the King, French Garen content creator. Mew, go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy.
Hello guys, I'm Muse King. I play Garen since like 3 years. I hit Challenger 1 year ago and now again. This champion is really good. You should all play him.
Well said, well said. Okay. Beautiful, thank you. Welcome, Mew. All right, next up here, we got an up-and-coming Garen streamer. You guys may know him already, but he runs a pretty mean Garen mid lane. Triton, tell me about yourself.
Yo, what's up? So I am a Garen mid streamer that was a hard stuck diamond playing Garen top lane for 2.5 years. And last year, I made a brand new account. I'm like, I want to play Garen mid. I want to play Garen mid. So started learning Garen mid and ended last split round master 500 LP. So I've been liking Garen mid a lot. Like Garen mid a lot.
And of culture, I see. Okay. And last but certainly not least, holding, I believe, 2 challenger accounts right now in North America. One of the more recent Garen prodigies, Palco Paint. Hey.
Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm here to just talk about, my thoughts on the champ because I feel like it's like a really complex champ, so I'm excited to discuss stuff. Yeah.
Word on the street is also you like Minecraft. Is that true?
This is true. This is facts and knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, banger game.
All right. Great. Thanks, everybody, so much for joining me. I know you guys have taken time out of your schedule. I want to give a big special shout out to Mew because it's probably, I think, like 4 in the morning for him, and he stayed up super late to be able to attend us. So thank you again so much, Mew, for making it happen for us East Coasters and us United States people. Really do appreciate you, man.
It's fine. I'm happy to be here.
All right, cool. So I have a lot of topics that I've written out, and I tried to honestly be picky about this because I could talk to you guys about 50 different things. Honestly, I can't make a 10-hour YouTube video, and you guys can't be here. So I'm going to talk about some stuff here, and I want to really pick your minds as to what you guys think. There's so many things I've been discussing personally on my stream. Let's hear from you guys, and of course, any of you guys are welcome to, answer on your own behalf, whatever comes to mind first. I can just go and rotate between asking people. The first topic I want to talk about, and yes, it's a Garen related, by the way, so spoiler. There's been a lot of discussion lately about Garen in solo queue, more specifically high-elo, which is really, really weird because historically every Garen nerf has been because of his win rate in low elo. But what's really fascinating lately is a bunch of people, and I've been seeing on Twitter, I won't drop any names, but there's a lot of people saying Garen is turbo busted in high elo. Now, I know if Moose Hater was here right now, he'd say 100% yes. He'd just be nodding his head right now. I want to hear from you guys. How do you guys perceive Garen in high elo right now? Is he better than he was in Season 12? And like what is his place right now? Do you guys agree with the people who are saying Garen is busted in high elo?
I think he kind of a little bit is. I play basically only split push Garen, and the massive buffs to Hull Breaker have been very, very nice to me for climbing overall. Because I end up going like Hull Breaker, Phantom Mancer pretty much like every single game as my build, and I'm so fast when I split push now. I can get a lot of stuff done by split pushing alone. I feel like I can carry more games than I even could, like even less split. It feels like. So I get why people feel like that. I get it.
Yeah, it's I have a lot of people like tweeting and saying like, "What WTF? This champion's broken. Garen perma 650
Yeah.
MS, just like he's uncatchable, unplayable, zero counterplay." I'm like, this is quite a topic here.
Yeah.
All right, Sunlight. You know, you've
I want to chime in.
yeah, go for it.
So I personally don't think Garen's broken at all. I've always felt that Garen has very defined weaknesses, especially in lane phase. And a lot of these times when you get into like these cheesy double zeal builds or to this point where you're at 600 movement speed, these windows of where you should have been punished have already passed. So I think the issue lies in the fact that people don't actually know how to punish the character as much, more so the fact that Garen is so broken that he could just do whatever he wants in lane and get away with it.
You know, you bring up a really interesting point there. You know, I have watched a lot of high-low streamers. I've never seen anybody click on someone's HUD and be like, "Oh, look, there's the phase rush cooldown." Now, I feel like a lot of people just downplay the Garen's window of not having phase rush up because, like, there's Garen's W, right? It's like a 20-ish second cooldown. But, like, the big vulnerability for Garen in lane is phase rush. I feel like a lot of people just don't understand that when Garen has phase rush down, which is a pretty large cooldown early, that's super punishable. That is your gank window. If you can bait the Garen's phase rush cooldown out and then attempt a gank, which requires coordination, I know, so key, right? But
Right.
like, I think like maybe that's the issue. I think like people just don't understand that.
Yeah, especially if you're playing someone like Darius into Garen, like especially those like first few levels when you have no phase rush. If he knows what he's doing, you cannot walk up to that wave, or you're just going to get run down. Especially if the enemy jungler is nearby, you can't do anything.
Okay.
At all.
So we've heard.
It's like,
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go, Palco.
I just think like it's the exact same thing that Sunlight said. Like you literally just have to punish this champ in lane. Like he goes full scaling runes. He goes like phase rush, scales with levels. He goes conditioning overgrowth sometimes, scales with time. He goes magical footwear now, so scales with time. If you're not putting, that extra emphasis on the laning phase, like a lot of NA players literally just perma-shove into me, and it's like, wow, I got Shridebreaker and I'm even CS with Ruby Crystal Star. This is supposed to happen. It's like, well, yeah, okay, of course, I'm going to be 2 times your champ. Like, it's not surprising to me at that point, So, like, people are just not wave managing, letting the wave slow push to them, where Garen is really weak because he gets run down, like, really easily because his cooldowns are so long. People are just not punishing that. Like, his WCD is 23 seconds. So, they're just not willing to, change what they're doing. I think, like, main thing.
I know that, like, we have, like, 4 North America players here. We have 1 US player. So, like, Muse perspectives could be really interesting here. But I find on North America that everyone just perma-shoves trying to get priority to either help with, like, invades or just gaining deep vision. I rarely find a top laner, like, ever playing the, like, denial game, unless it's, like, maybe another melee champion like Jax or Darius. If it's, like, ranged champions, Rumble pushes in, Rise pushes in, Cassio pushes in, and push. That's how I've experienced it. I've only played North America. How's things on US? Do you find the same phenomenon?
I don't think it's the same because in US it's way more aggressive. Basically, I have tried a lot of times to go with Ghost and Flash. Ghost is really good if you can scale with it, if you can go past the laning phase, which is really hard against some matchups, like Atrox or Darius. I have found that Ignite is more useful in E West, and without it, you can't really go past lane phase. But I agree with Sunlight and Palco about the double zeal and the fact that Garen is really weak in lane. You have to abuse that, otherwise it's kinda lost, People that say he's broken are people that just see Garen with 2 items minute 16, So yeah, of course it's gonna be broken, but it's like any scaling champ at this point.
That's cool. Yeah, I resonate with that. I think like what you mentioned there, especially like naming like the double Z example, which is definitely its own topic, which we're going to get into in just a little bit here. But I think like this also is attached to another topic that I have come up here about like Garen in competitive play, and like I think like there's a big difference between like Garen in solo queue and Garen in competitive play. Although we have seen with like some matches that like it doesn't seem to be like too much of a difference. Although we could talk about that a bit more. I mean, like several of the people here have played competitive before. I think you've had some competitive experience too, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I did, but I was ADC basically.
Okay, cool.
I was top lane, but it was too long ago, So yeah, Recently, it was ADC.
Okay, yeah, and we got Sunlight too. With is that correct, Mr. Sunlight?
Yep, collegiate, and I was in the last 2 OQs for NACL.
Cool.
And I did play a Garen game in there, so
All right,
it
cool.
was quite epic.
Yeah, and then we have Moose Hater, of course, too, with some here and there. So this leads me to my next topic, and let's get right on into it. So, like, we have seen Garen occasionally in competitive play. He's sprout out every once in a while. Someone dusts off the champion as like a secret pocket pick. You know, have like someday, for example, whipping him out versus Cassante, which is another subtopic because like the whole Garen versus Cassante thing is something I really want to pick your brains about. But like, it's interesting. I really want to get your guys' opinions on this. Like, can Garen continue the surface in pro play? And I wanted to ask you guys, so like, what you guys think, like, what is the environment that like facilitates Garen actually being able to pick them pro play? Is there a specific criteria, or is this somebody? Is there someone just getting really meme heavy, just dusting it off for the memes, just trying to get the highlight? What do you guys think? You know, allows Garen to surface him?
Well, I feel like a number one thing. Well, I haven't really played in pro play at all, right? Like I'm literally like I just turned 18. Like I have not been in anything like at all like that. So I can't really say for sure. But my thoughts on pro play is like when I watch pro play, like and I see top lane, usually the KDAs are really like stale. Like it's usually like 000, big CS number. I feel like it's all about consistency. Like because going for the crazy limit test play in a pro play game is usually not what people want to do when there's like hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line. So I feel like Garen can be consistent in certain metas. Like he can be consistent in the sense that like he can't get punished by certain champs and he can scale like really well during the laning phase like versus certain champs. But if there's certain champs in the meta that can force things onto him and force all-ins and stuff like that and dives with the jungler, which they definitely can communicate quite well. Like it's just really the question is, can the meta in pro play punish Garen's weak early game? That's the question. And will Garen's weak early game be a problem for his team? Like I feel like that's the number one thing to ask. Like
Right, because he's
so
going to
yeah.
forfeit priority for certain, like, and I'm very, very happy too that we've gotten to a stage where, like, okay, we see Garen locked in, and you're just dreading, you're like, please don't lock in Conqueror Flash Ignite, please don't lock in Conqueror Flash Ignite. We see pro players locking in Phase Rush, Ghost in Flash, like,
Yeah.
they understand us, they understand how we think, to an extent at least. So, like, that's a really, really cool development. Because I remember when I was helping out Reckless when he was trying to do Garen Yumi on Fnatic in Season 9, he originally, before he looked for my help, he was taking Grasping and Dying versus 2 ranged champions bot lane with Garen Yumi. I'm like, dude, you either run Predator or Fleet, have runes. If you take Grasping, just nothing's happening. The same thing applies to Conqueror in Season 13, I think, with a lot of matchups if you take it competitively. With some exceptions, of course. And like interestingly enough, there is Grasping and Dying for like the tank matchups. I know you guys have been talking to me about that as like a sleeper OP thing. But it's really cool to see the pros actually use Phase Rush Garen. It's super, super exciting. Do you guys have any other thoughts about like Garen in pro play?
I think Garen in pro play is pretty OP if the other laner is not confident and they rely on tanks. So a lot of times in pro play, all these top laners will always get shafted into the blind pick tank of like Sion or like Cassante or Ornn. Anything that's consistently well in laning as well as can either scale or like create plays for their team, right?
Right.
And I think Garen fits that perfect aesthetic to like punish those types of lanes that just want to scale because Garen can just outscale them without like zero punishment. The only one I'd say you could probably get punished is Cassante because Cassante is the 4,000 HP, 300 armor, funny character that could just CC you to death whenever he wants. But other than that, I don't think there's like any other tank that beats Garen straight up.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. Like, yeah, sure, they like win like trades, but like it's hard for like a tank to really commit 100 to 0. Plus, the Garen is playing really stupid, like, right? So yeah, that is a really great point too. I think like that's what I've always pictured. I've always pictured Sunlight's what Sunlight said basically. Garen's picked into a tank, right? Can just go ahead and outscale, outmobilize, has the option to fight or split push, which is really cool because like Garen's itemization can be very diverse. You can go the whole breaker if the team is able to facilitate that 4-1. Or if he's the frontliner, hey, you know, you're taking half the enemy team's armor away, which really enables comps that might be AD heavy, you know? And I think like that unique identity Garen has, that he's like basically a super black cleaver in a sense,
Yeah.
is something that I think is missed out, maybe out on pro teams. Because like, unlike Darius, he can't provide that to his team. It's all personal power. But with Garen, it's very interesting to see him on a team like with a Kog'Maw, Lulu, or like or any Fed AD to see that matter. That's just my personal. Triton, do you have any thoughts yourself?
I mean, no, it's pretty much the same thing. Like, I only really think for pro play wise, I think it's like Sunlight said, it's like if you're picking him into a tank, right? Because that is like how you're going to get like the constant pressure either in team fights, or you constantly have someone either top or bot during an objective, and then the tank has to like respond and can't be in a fight. You try to win the game that way. I think if you are like, I don't think he's ever, at least as of right now, he's ever going to be like a champ where you can like blind pick him per se, because there's just so many counters you can pick in pro play for top that is like he's just not going to be able to function, I think, that well, at least early. So
Okay. Well,
that's
well
what I
said.
think.
Does anyone else want to add some things before I move on to the topic?
Yeah, I want to add that if Garen is not really picked in competitive, it's because you have you have to find a role, you know. Garen lacks an identity. So when you pick your team comp, you can't really pick Garen, you know, because he doesn't really bring something special, you know. He can do everything, but not really. Everything he does is not really excellent, you know. So that's the main problem. When you pick Garen, you don't pick another champion, and that champion can bring what Garen brings in a better efficiency. So that's the issue with Garen in pro play from my perspective.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've always viewed Garen's identity that way too. Like, he's very jack of all trades. Like, it's almost like picking Mario in Smash Bros. Like, what is Mario known for? He's like all around, like literally all around. He's never good at anything super specifically. He's just like got a little bit of everything, you know. That's how I always view Garen, and I think like that is like an often attractive feature for pro players, like assembling a team comp, especially when a coach is like trying to like picture in their mind the drafting stage. Like, Garen doesn't not stand out for like, okay, like no one says, oh, we need Garen for this. Like, Garen is the man, is the man for this job, right? Because like we have people like locking in like Aatrox versus tanks, you know, because like Aatrox is strong right now. Like, it's hard for Garen to beat out other champions and what they're doing. I think like maybe that attributes to why he's.
Yeah, that's why Cassante is so popular in pro play. He
I
can just
need
do literally
to
everything.
roll with this. Okay. I need to just roll with this. Not right now. Don't worry.
Well, I'll say,
Just roll
like
with this.
whenever I would pick Garen, I always think that I just pick Darius here, like 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Because if I'm against a Scion, instead of just scaling, why not just kill this guy 5 times in lane?
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You know.
So
that lane is so free.
exactly. So it's kind of hard of a balance between am I confident enough to just crush this person? Absolutely. Or do I just take the safe route of I know I'll just be free throughout the entire game of me being able to scale up on this character? And then if that's the case, if you're not really confident on playing in top lane, then like how are you in this competitive setting, you know?
True. This all relates to a topic I'm going to be talking with you fine gentlemen later on in the podcast, and I'm really excited for it. But we will leave that for another time. All right, I think we got everyone's thoughts in about competitive for Garen. I'll move on to the next topic. But unless you guys want to interject with anything else. All right.
I'm ready.
So next up here. So we'll have to deal with the big elephant in the room here, and you guys know it was coming. All right, so Double Zeal. It's hot, it's fresh, it's hopping and bopping. We have been teching this for a while, and most of the individuals here, you see, like, this is gonna be tough because like right now we might have a gigantic echo chamber. Although I don't see Triton doing Double Zeal as much. I may be mistaken.
I don't do it. That is true.
That's good. We have the anti-Double Zeal in here. That's good because like if it was 6 Garen players with Double Zeal, we're like, oh yeah, Double Zeal's good. Double Zeal's good. Like, yeah, biased him a bit much, right? So it's definitely a big craze right now, and specifically we're seeing it built a lot on North America. Now, I'm a North America streamer with a lot of friends and colleagues playing Garen in the America scene. Got some people over at EOS there maybe trying it out. So it might be a little bit of a wait and see type of situation, right? Because if we go on data websites and we see like Garen's, oh, what's his highest win rate, build path, right? It's not really, there's a lot of sites that aren't showing Garen just straight up building components after the completed item. They will only usually show completed item, completed item, completed item, completed item in sequence there. So I think like that's why like a lot of people, unless you're following people on YouTube, all the YouTubers trying out Double Zeal, you're not going to pick up by these websites that Double Zeal is actually a legitimate thing. So it's almost like a secret type of strategy because it's just like going under the radar for most of these sites. That's my personal theory as to why other regions aren't picking up. I personally think maybe if we gave this a few more months, more people will be building it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think this is just like a craze cooked idea that has overstayed its welcome? Do you guys think Double Zeal will last if untouched? Or are we just all crazy here? What do you guys think about it so far? What's your experiences?
Well, okay, so Double Zeal is like an insane early game, like, well, not really early game, it's like more like a mid game thing, where it's like you buy these 2 items that are just insanely gold efficient, right? Like insanely gold efficient. But they may not have the same impact as like other items that you could just fully build. But the components and other items, like let's say I want to build Black Cleaver, right? If I build Black Cleaver and I'm running around with a Caulfield's Warhammer and a Kindle Gem, I'm going to feel like trash, right? Like that does not feel good at all. When I have 2 Zeals, I'm like, I can literally take CS in every lane. I can rotate. I can team fight, split push. I can do whatever I want, right? I can one-shot people still. I have like Deadman's move speed. So it's like an insanely good mid-game spike. And I think for this reason, I think it's a lot stronger and higher elo because it's not really like the items that you build into, like Phantom Dancer is good, but Rapid Fire Cannon's kind of like kind of like an item. And it's like you're just building these items. I feel like it's really good in like top 1% MMR where the games are shorter, because you're not fully completing. Like Black Cleaver is actually a really strong item when you fully complete it. It's just the components are so bad. So we don't really build this item as much because Double Zeal just gives you that mid-game spike to carry the game like right away. So I think that's why it's so good. Like it's definitely good in high elo, maybe not as good in low elo for that reason. Yeah.
I will say my greatest accomplishment in life, and I will take this to my grave, when you guys are at the RISTE funeral and they are reciting my life, they will recite the epic moment where we have converted Sunlight into a Zeal believer. And that was one of the greatest accomplishments of my life.
Okay, wait, hold on. Because I built Zeal, like, very beginning, season 11, I built Stride, Zeal, Mortal Reminder. That was me. I did that. I was a big Zeal fan until they changed it off of Mortal. And then you brought it back. So I was a Zeal hater then, and then you got me.
Okay. I'll give you that. Okay. I always knew you'd come back. It was great. It's great to have you back. Okay. So we have Sunlight on board. Palco is already a believer. Mew, I know you picked this up somewhat recently. It's been some time. Like, I know we're talking to you about it on the Gary Mains Discord. How has your experiences been with the Double Zeal so far?
Honestly, I think it changed a lot from like I was kind of stuck, in lower elo for some reasons. And when I picked up this strategy, I like all the games were more easier, so it was really good. But sometimes I think it's better to buy only 1 Zeal instead of 2 when there are a lot of healing champs, or when there are a lot of tank champs, because you don't really good damage with 2 Zeals in those situations. But yeah, when I picked this up, it was really better for me.
Awesome. And Mew does say something really, really good and very noteworthy about the situation. Like, Double Zeal is like a baseline concept for Garen. You guys don't always have to go Double Zeal every game. Build the amount of Zeals that you guys feel comfortable. There's always going to be other components that sometimes necessitate being bought. Like, you could go a game where, oh, they're heal heavy, go Zeal and Executioners. Upgrade into your Mortal Minder, just like Sunlight Rocket in 11. Yes, right? So, there are different situations. Or let's say, for example, you guys are versus a shield heavy team comp, right? Like, forget the Double Zeal, just get the Serpent's Fang, and then figure out what you're cooking later. So like we use Double Zeal as a baseline concept because like that's like kind of like the sweet spot. But there are the Garen players. Some of those people are in this room here. Sometimes go 3 Zeals, 1 Zeal, 0 Zeals. And that leads me to the next guest here. Mr. Triton builds absolutely 0 zeals. And Triton, I want to hear it from you. What's going on?
So
What's your stance here?
I have started building one recently. I've
Okay.
started building one. I go into Fandom Answer now. Now, my reasoning in my head though is I pick up the one, I get the movement speed, I get the damage right. I then immediately, most games, I pick up Moonplate immediately just for that extra movement speed, that extra tankiness, and then we go that way. And kind of have that as my full build path. To me, at least when I'm split pushing, I think having that little bit of extra tankiness with the pretty much same amount of move speed is better because it'll go into 2 components that I'm going to build into like full items anyway. So I'm not like wasting on the second zeal if I'm not going like RFC that game, for example. So like I'm not getting like 2 separate items, and it just saves money that way, and I can just keep split pushing that way. I do think the 2 zeal thing is good, and I don't know what is like Riot's like balance framework on like if like building 2 components is meta. Like, do they look to nerf that? I actually don't know too much about that myself.
That's a great.
So like, are they going to nerf that at all? I don't know.
So I actually got Sukumin when I was out in LA with Riot Flox. If you guys know, he's such an awesome designer. He streams too. Shout out to the boy. I got Sukumin with Medkill and Flox, and I asked him. Actually, I sat down to ask him, and I think I'm allowed to share this because I think he's talked about this with other people. But yeah, component stacking is, and this is a paraphrase from his words. Component stacking is okay, which is really cool, unless it's created to solve a situation that Riot Games could do better with. So like in some cases, yes, they do fix it. Like when ADCs were like literally just stacking BF swords. And like, we probably want them to build items. But there are cases where they're like Riot Games allows people to just continue building components. A good example of this is
Look, I have a business meeting right now, Dada.
Like GP stacking like Cloaks of Agility.
Yeah.
So
that was like season 12, I think, right? That he was just like stacking like 4 or 5 in a row as soon as he got his mythic or Essence Reaver, I think, right?
Yeah, and there's some GP players that still do it, I think, too.
I still, I still see it sometimes.
So it's interesting because like a lot of people want this thing removed. Like I won't drop names, but like people are being like, okay, let's make the YouTube videos so Riot Games hotfix nerfs this, and like I'm thinking to myself, like, is Riot Games gonna address this? Are they like gonna nerf Critical Strike Garen? Is Garen gonna get nerfed? But it's gonna be interesting to see if they let Double Zeal stay. I think it's a unique solution for as many of you said, it's a unique solution that really amplifies Garen's impact in ILO top % games.
Yeah.
Right.
I do want to add something to the double zeal, just because I think the most broken part about the double zeal is the gold efficiency and the timing of it, right? So a lot of these games where I'm building double zeal and I notice I get them later into the game or I'm behind tempo, I think it's absolutely terrible for tempo just because you're already behind. And since you got them at a later stage of the game, you're not picking up as much farm as you would have gotten if you were on tempo at like, let's say the 14-minute mark, right? And I think that's where most of the power of the zeal lies, is where it lets you farm 10 CS a minute easily. And if you can't get those zeals to do that, then it sort of defeats the purpose of investing the gold into the item. Same with what Mew said earlier, is that if you're like a tank matchup and you go like Stride, Double Zeal into like a Scion that builds Sunfire, Heartsteel, like you deal 0 damage to that guy. That guy will not die. So I think in those cases, you just build 1 Zeal and move on to like Black Cleaver, or I build LDR.
I build LDR too.
Okay,
And the Scion, hell yeah.
Cracks,
Hell yeah.
Honestly, I have to build LDR too. I like get the door.
I get LDR later before
Yeah.
Black Cleaver, after Black Cleaver. But
okay.
That's the tack. I love LDR in this style.
Cool. All right, take notes, gamers. We got some expert Garen tips out here. Do you guys agree with what Sunlight said on that count? You know how it's like more of a momentum item. You build it when you have it.
Yeah, for snowballing. Yeah,
that's what I said at the start. Like you basically build it so you can accelerate your leads, and or not even just a lead, just the fact that you got out of lane with Stridebreaker. And just you start picking up even more CS, and all that CS that you dropped in lane to get to that point, you're gonna start getting all of it back. Like that's why it's so good. So yeah, for sure. Like it's just, and I don't think it'll get nerfed either, by the way, because I don't think many low elo Garens are like checking like how what is the builds. Like they just go on u.gg, they say Conquer Ignite, Conditioning Overgrowth, and Flash Ignite, and they lock it in. They're happy. They're 52 win rate at the end of the day. So they don't look this up, and I don't think like it's gonna come to low elo, and if it does, I don't think it'll even increase Garen's win rate. I don't think it's increasing Garen's win rate in high elo enough to like make it nerf worthy. So it's gonna stick around, I think. Yeah.
Oh, this is since you mentioned win rate, I really want to show you guys something really quickly. I'm gonna go ahead and link this to you guys on Discord if I can do. Or you guys can join me by checking out u.gg. But if you guys go to u.gg and look at Garen right now and filter by Grandmaster, take a look at that for me really quickly.
Yeah, I already seen this.
Yeah,
I know.
like,
I mentioned this on stream. Yeah.
What do you guys think is about like Grandmaster specifically? Because I'm filtering by Challenger, I'm filtering by Masters, and it's like such conflicting information. It's like a group of Garens just literally just steamrolling through Grandmaster. Like, I don't know if this is Palco doing it, like how many games he's banking.
Well, I literally have 60 win rate on like 2 accounts and GM when I was climbing through those, so that might have done that. I don't know, but it's like that was like 200 games as well. But like it's also like you have to consider like this is only 444 matches right now. If you look at like other patches where like not really much changed, right? Like 13.14, let's say, like nothing really changed for Garen. You know, you can see that it changes a lot. Like, well, I guess okay, 70 matches this time, but I don't know. You see crazy win rates like this. I think it's just because the sample size is low,
Yeah.
and most of the people playing Garen are like OTPs, and it's like, well, if you're you know an OTP, you're probably gonna have a positive win rate on this champ, right? Like hopefully. So
True.
like I don't know. I don't think like it's like yes, he's pretty good right now. Like honestly, compared to the past, he's pretty good right now. But like he's definitely not 53 win rate worthy. I think it's just coincidence for now, but we will see.
I do agree. I do agree that the sample size is small. And I actually do agree that yes, probably anybody locking in Garen right now is doing it out of a labor of love. Says like, oh yeah, you want to smurf through high elo right now? Just lock in Garen. Unless they believe the stigma that the Garen actually is broken. Because like usually when we see his win rate like into a patch, it's usually like a little bit below 50%. We've been noticing that I think with the last few patches, he's been banking like 49%. And like this ties into like the stigma discussion of like, oh, Garen is such a high elo broken champion. I don't know if you guys saw Freak's patch rundown. I watch Freak a lot. He does really great patch breakdowns. But when Garen got buffed recently, and I'm gonna paraphrase this, he gave his analysis as to why he thought Garen should be buffed in solo queue, right? And again, this is his words, not mine. He says that when you're playing Garen, like a majority of Garens who are locked in solo queue usually play pretty close to the mastery curve, right? So when you pick Garen and you're playing a champion that can be piloted rather easily, and you're locking that champion in, you're playing versus a champion by a pilot who doesn't know that champion too well, that Garen player technically should have a better natural advantage because like it's just easier to drive, it's easier to pilot. Like that's one of the reasons why he believes that Garen has like a higher win rate in solo queue, because he truly believes that Garen, most Garen players play close to the mastery curve. Like when high elo, that's maybe a little bit of a more heated topic, the first topic. But I actually kind of agree with him on that. And if we apply that logic to how Garen's picked in low, high elo, okay, like high elo player, Grandmaster's player probably has some map fundamentals, right? Map awareness, knows how to group, knows how to rotate, things like that. Locks in Garen, okay, we know some pro players read the tooltips as they're loading into a competitive game, but most pro players probably know what Garen's QWER does, right? So if we apply that logic and we see Garen below a 50% win rate, assuming that most Garen players that lock in Garen play at the mastery cap, can we truly say that Garen is overpowered in high elo? What do you guys think about it?
I think it's based on your opponent's skill level because I think one of the most famous matchups, right, for Garen of all time is like Garen stomps Riven. This matchup is always perpetuated that it's so Garen favorite, man. He just silences Riven. She can't Q, she can't do anything. But if you play against Viper Riven, dude, you realize it is not Garen favorite. They will instantly shield the Q and then stun you at the same time, so you already lost a trade and you dealt no damage. So you have a losing lane in phase. So you'll always go down 30 CS. It gets to the point where it's all about how good they are at their champion. and that sort of decides how weak or strong Garen is. More so
Exactly.
than how good the pilot of Garen is. Of course, you could be really good at Garen. You could be super consistent. You know when to trade. You know how to farm. Yada yada. Give up. But it's more so on the fact and how good your opponent is at piloting that really skillful champion like Jace or Riven or I don't think anyone picks Silas. No one's gonna ever pick Silas, but skill champions like Fiora. Fiora beats Garen too if you're really good at Fiora.
Maybe we're looking at this all wrong. Maybe Garen's not a stat check champion, but a skill check champion. Am I right?
Yeah.
He
No,
Yeah,
beats
he's
completely.
like, it's like locking in Nasa's top lane and then just being like, okay, you didn't kill me. I have 400 stacks.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, I don't know, I've played versus Viper as well, and I've lost like every single time. I think I never come out of laning phase with a winning like amount of like gold or anything. Like I literally switched to Conquer Ignite to contest this guy in lane because I get punished so hard if I go ghost phase. Like that's how bad it is. Like you literally have to fight back versus these really good players sometimes because like you just get punished way too hard if they're better than you. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like whenever I play versus Diablo, I'm like, I have to take Ignite. There's no Ghost Flash here. It is Ignite because I know that man's diving me within 3 levels. It's pretty rough. Okay, so I'm glad that I have shared experiences with several of you guys. Does anybody else want to comment on what I said earlier about Freak's assessment and like how that applies to Garen? Anybody else want to?
I mean, I think he's right. There's not much to say really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So I have a few other topics here, and then like if we have time later, like what I will let you guys do is if you guys want to talk to like us and like create your own topics, you can definitely do it. Like I like that little freedom because like I like it when kind of going off script here a little bit. But the next topic I want to talk about, and this is actually pretty spicy because like if you guys are like longtime Garen players, I've played this champion for what, 6-7 years, maybe 6. I don't know, but yeah, Garen has gone through several iterations. Gone through a lot of reworks. For such a simple champion, Riot Games always throws a wrench at this dude, and he always tries to mix him up. And it's been a few years since his last rework. And the discussion of him ever getting a future rework in the future is always that is talked about because, to be honest, there's a lot of people who don't like Garen his current iteration, or there's some people who miss villain Garen. I don't know if you guys ever like played like season 9, back to season 5 Juggernaut Garen. It was definitely a different iteration, right? Like he had the villain mechanic. He was absolutely useless top lane. He was viable mid lane, which was not discovered until we started engineering that stuff in season 8, season 9, and that's how we started seeing Garen players get back into high elo. And he was basically more of a mid lane champion than a top lane champion. But like some people miss that, and like some people don't miss that and say, this iteration Garen does suck. So like my topic is, like, if Garen was to be technically given a mid-scope or like a little bit of an update, or maybe even a complete like VGU, a visual gameplay update, what do you guys personally wish for if he was to be reworked? Like what's a pain point that you guys would like to be what's something you guys want to I'll give everyone like a time to talk about. So we'll start with anybody who wants to.
I mean, the only idea that I kind of really had for like somewhat of a rework was to kind of like, I don't know how you would even balance this potentially, but I think a way to increase Garen's skill cap would be to give him kind of like 2 charges of his W, like how Mumu got 2 Qs kind of back then. And I feel like it would kind of give him like a little bit more of like a skill ceiling because like if you have multiple like layers of CC being thrown at you, you got both charges up, you can tap it twice, and you can potentially keep fighting when normally you couldn't. I mean, that's like the only really idea I've really had. Besides that, I'm not really sure what else they could do. So, I mean, I started playing in season 10, so like I wasn't even around when the whole like villain mechanic was even a thing to begin with. So, I don't have experience in that topic.
Okay. That's cool. And I think like the charge system has been like some. Although I thought about it for Garen's spin, how like I always imagined Garen like eventually like getting away from the concept of being a Beyblade, but more so having like spin charges where he can use strategically, and the Garen player has to kind of like manage it like an ammo system, almost like having multiple like Hecarim queues. So like,
yeah.
I do think like an ammo system would be really cool for any of his abilities. I know some people are going to be in chat and be like, "Oh yeah, give Garen multiple queues because I want counterplay to be removed." But I think W or spin could be really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Sunlight, Mew, Palco, what do you guys think? What have you guys been dreaming about?
Okay, well, I want to agree with the W charge system just because of the nightmare of CDR Garen. I can't imagine having infinite W ever. That'd be so painful. I've done it. I've gotten to that point where you have infinite W when you have full build, full CDR, and it's impossible to lose because you just have 30% damage reduction constantly. It's bro. You have anathemas for every character. But besides that, I think the best mini rework you could do right now without going too deep into the champion or changing it back to the flick of the wrist R with the villain mechanic is emphasis on the E's pinpoint ability. So the E would deal more damage to the single target. I think I'd want to change the damage so it does less damage overall, but it does the more, like the same amount or more to the pinpoint target. And this would give it a more Graves-like style of playing in minion waves. And that way you don't absorb as much damage. Let's say if the enemy was playing Darius and you play Garen, the Garen can E into the wave if he wants. But if the Darius is playing around that wave, then more of the E damage is going to be hidden on to maybe the minions more so than the Darius itself. So I think it still balances that feature of low elo wants to just E, they can go in, E the wave. But if you're really good, it gives the chance for Garen to show his movement on staying on top of the enemy character while he's ghosted, right? Because that's the main feature of the E is being ghosted. So I think that should be a key integral part of that aspect, as well as the enemy gets sort of the option to dance around their minions and see if they can deflect some of that E damage onto them.
I think that's really cool, and I think like that unique part of Garen's spin is something that a lot of low elo Garen players don't realize. Like I've coached clients before, and they don't even understand the isolation. Like they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them even forget that debuffs armor. So like I think like from introductory champion that could be a great like skill develop leveler for like be like get better at like, oh, you want to get better at Garen? Well, have you been sweet spotting your spins? Like that is a topic for people to talk about. And I want to give a quick shout out to old Garen in season 9 because like how his spin used to work is like if he was hitting one target, he'd have the isolation damage. But if you were hitting multiple targets, you got no isolation whatsoever. So that means any champion who you would fight in a mini wave, you just never got the isolation damage. It was just terrible for top lane. Like Garen top lane was so bad because of that element. It got changed because the reworks announced closest target, which is kind of the opposite for Wild Rift Garen, if you guys ever played Wild Rift, because like if you hit someone at the edge of the spin, it does isolation damage. And I actually asked a writer about like if that could be ported over, because that seemed really interesting. But they said because of like how champions are controlled in Wild Rift compared to PC, it's not as intuitive. And like that was one of the reasons why old Aurelion Sol played so much better on Wild Rift, because you had the that's what they told me. Never experienced myself. I guess it kind of made a little bit. Want to interject that, but yeah, I think like the isolation mechanic could be something to really, really play on Garen iteration.
I feel like Garen's identity is like very confused right now. Like I feel like this champion is like everyone believes like like when I was climbing through Diamond and Master, like only like really high elo players understand like what Garen's supposed to build. So when I was climbing through like those specific elos, they don't really like see Garen like all the time. Like it's like yeah, like Master Diamond, it's Garen's more popular obviously than Challenger and stuff. But like my teammates will ping my Greaves and my Double Zeal and go, why are you not going armor? Why are you not going Thornmail? They're so used to like bruiser champions being like this, like, tankier kind of go into the front line and, go and help the team. Literally Garen right now, he's best as like a flanker. He's best as like an assassin. He's like, he's got insanely long cooldowns on his Q and E. His cooldown doesn't even start until his, either of those abilities are finished. And, he's just kind of forced to walk away for like a long, long time after he's done doing his damage. That is the main problem. I feel like that's why people hate Garen, actually, because with Phase Rush is there to help you after doing your damage, get out, and just wait around and just sit there and wait for your cooldowns to come back up. Like, your cooldowns are so incredibly long, so I feel like Garen would benefit from getting an E cooldown that's a lot lower but does less damage. Like one of my friends even suggested like just have his E as an infinite like Urgot, but like instead it does like way less damage. And then make him like more tankier so he's not like this like burst champion that like one shots people under towers. Like he's like a Garen scales with health and his passive, but like right now he's just like Zed. and he just goes in side lane and he one shots people. Don't get me wrong, I love playing like that. It's really fun, but it's not what Garen's supposed to be. I feel like that's not what a Juggernaut is. He's supposed to like go in and like be tanky and go into a long fight, an extended fight. But if he keeps going in against champions and his E runs out, well, guess what? He's dead. So that's why people hate Garen, because he's always running away. Yeah.
Okay, you've covered a lot of great points there. And a quick question: does your friend play TFT? Because like that's what Garen is right now with the infinite spin.
No, yeah, he does actually. Yeah, I think he does. Yeah.
So like I thought about that, interesting. And I always thought like, okay, what if he was a toggle, right? You know, just like permanently like respawn, like just turn it on, just like send yourself down like you're a flying saucer. You know,
Yeah.
what's the point, right? And that is actually rather interesting because like I think like the fantasy of Garen staying in fights right now is more attributed, I think, to Conqueror Garen. But like the problem with Conqueror Garen is like it's so dangerous for him to operate for him in extended fights because his laning phase, like the reason why like you can't do extended trades in laning phase because of how dangerous it is and how exploited Garen is. Like one of the reasons why like he can't convert that to team fights where he wants to stay in people's face because you want to keep Conqueror up, you want to keep heals up. But like I think Conqueror Garen has gotten so progressively weak with like the nerfs to precision, right? And how like they've removed so many Omnivamp items that like on top of the Omnivamp penalty, for anybody who doesn't know, AoE sources of damage get a big penalty to Omnivamp. It's like 1/3 of the value.
Yeah.
Like Garen can't even use these Omnivamp items well. Like he only gets one proc off of Ravenous, which is like its own thing, right? Like there was an iteration of Garen where he would proc on hit effects on his spin. It was turbo busted. They quickly got rid of that thing. But if that actually went through, yeah, he'd be able to use Ravenous Hydra today and be able to get multiple procs in it. And like everyone's got the theories like saying, oh yeah, Garen could proc on hit like maybe once every second, so you get 3 out of a spin instead of like just 1. You know, so that discussion's always been on the table, right? But I think like one of the reasons like a lot of juggernauts who love being in fights, you know, Darius, maybe Urgot, Olaf, for example. Even like bruisers like Riven can sometimes stay in fights for more extended period of time because they use those items so well. So like I think like it's also like a part Garen hit problem, and it's also a part like his synchronization with itemization also kind of like screws him a little bit when it comes to like being able to stay in fights. You're not taking Conquer Garen, you just want to go in and out, as you described very well, Palco. What do you guys think?
I
It
think
just needs
for
lower cooldowns. Sorry.
you good. I was gonna say on the point of items, I think items for Garen is actually the best character in the game. I think Riot came with the idea of we want to give all these champions a whole variety of items to build, and what usually happens is the champion either goes like, I'm only gonna build this item now. Like I'm gonna play Jhin or I'm gonna be an assassin, so now I'm gonna build Dustblade. This is it. This is all I build now because Eclipse got nerfed, so now I only build Dustblade. But I think Garen has like actually the most diversity out of any character in the entire game to build whatever he wants, right? He can go Sterix, he can go Stride, he can go Gore, he can go Triforce. I've seen Divine. I don't think it's good, but he can go it. But like he can build any bruiser item and it'll be fine. And then you can see now that he's building Zeal items and it's still good. So I think he's done it. I think he's, become the item master of the game. I just think it's a Garen problem, honestly.
It's again, yeah, it is. Like I think that's one of the things I could appreciate is like how diverse item builds can be. Like every Garen main's got their own little secret item in their drawer. They like to button dust off everyone. Like I like throwing anathemas on Garen and getting those assassins into the negative values of tenacity. It's really cool how you could build like 30 different items on this champion. You know, some items really suck, but it's like cool how you have so many. It really is cool. One thing that I think pro players just don't tap into, because like I think pro players will look at Garen and be like, okay, what's the GG build? I'll just do the next game, if that was ever the case. So it's interesting. Like it's a form of complexity that kind of nudges Garen's skill ceiling up a little bit, like artificially, right? Not the champion, it's like what you're actually putting on him. So it's like another element of game knowledge that some other juggernauts are very cut and dry. Like deviating on Garen with items is a whole lot different than deviating from items on Urgot, where you're kind of like essentially trolling if you slightly, but it's actually interesting 'cause I see some Urgot players actually trying to break that mold. You know, like I have like Urpog building Redemption on Urgot.
Urpog.
So they're really trying to innovate right now. I think like because they're allowed to build Starks again because like they used to be like a melee only item hard coded, so they couldn't even build it. Like those restrictions are gone now. So like I think like the floor is opening for them. But like other juggernauts have struggled with this a lot. Garen has always had that itemization diversity season after season. It's interesting. Cool. All right, gentlemen. So I can't help and like this this is gonna be our first like slightly non-related Garen topic. We gotta talk about the bad boy in the room. We gotta talk about top lane. Because like top lane's a really hot topic, and everyone's talking about like how bad top lane is. Some people say, okay, if you say top lane's bad, it's Kilpium. Other people have legitimate reasons as to why they despise top lane. I myself, I have never really top lane. Like I do add tolerance. I pick Garen there as a retirement home plan. That's all I'm doing. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about top lane right now? Like in this, Garen doesn't even have to be related to this topic. You can just state your unbiased thoughts. Doesn't have to be Garen. Let me hear from you guys. What do you guys think about
Like fighting between mommy and daddy.
I think you are locked until 40 minutes because of the plates, which is really bad for the game state. Honestly, you can't really leave your tower, so you have to be here all the time, and this is why top lane has so less impact. You know, it's because of the plates, in my opinion.
I agree with that. Like if mid lane roams, at least the jungler might be in better proximity to be able to cover for mid. For top lane, if they're on the opposite side of the map, well, you can kiss 3 plates goodbye. There's nobody helping you out.
Yeah.
And like I've asked for people to cover me for top lane in solo queue. I think this is a solo queue problem. There really be mid laners who take top lane, at least in my experience. Hopefully it's different for you guys. But yeah, that coverage issue is a terrible thing. It's almost like feels like you're working at McDonald's and like you have 3 different callouts and no one's covering your nobody. It's pretty bad right now. Let me hear from you guys though. What do you guys think about top lane?
I mean, I think another bad problem too is like I feel like the whole counter picking too has just gotten kind of worse and worse and worse. Even through like since I played in season 10, I feel like every single season the like it's like how like, someone in my chat was even saying earlier, it's like the counter pick meta just gets worse and worse every year, and I don't really know how Riot could even fix that. But I feel like top lane especially is the lane that like matters the most like counter pick wise, and I don't know how to solve it. I genuinely don't. But I feel like Riot's got to try something with it. No.
Kind of gotten worse for Garen too. Like they nerfed the
Yeah.
wind shield, they nerfed attack wins. So
Yep.
if someone counterpicks you,
I hate
they
the
lock in
Dorns. The Dorn shield.
Rumble, they lock in Kennen. Like you know you're just
Yep.
getting
Yep.
yeah sitting.
Yeah, Palco, you want to say why it's OP?
Yeah, man. I don't know.
Okay.
I think top is actually like really not that bad. Like I don't know. Like yes, you're going to be locked out of the game for a long time, and like yes, this is true. But when you actually get through laning phase, like let's say Garen specifically, because like I don't know, I play Garen like pretty much only. Um, like every time I get out of lane, and let's say I even get a solo kill, like I have Ghost Phase, I'm really strong outside of lane. I feel like top lane champs at one mythic item. The reason why they're so weak early is because once they get their item at around 12 minutes, 13 minutes, a lot of top lane champs are just stronger than everybody else. Like they're really OP. Like at level 11, like a lot of top lane champs just kind of stat check literally everyone. Before you know the ADCs get their second, third item, like you're actually really strong at mid game. So not only that, like I think like if your weak side is top lane and you manage to survive and go 0 deaths, like you're actually just 1v9ing the game. Because then your jungler will go bot and punish the enemy bot laners for not having a jungler with them. So like I don't know. I've just never felt like top was that weak as long as you're a very consistent player. Because if you make one mistake, yes, of course, you will get punished and sent to hell for it. But it's just at the same time, like I feel like if you can consistently get out of laning phase without, getting destroyed, like it's definitely like not bad. Like a lot of top champs scale really well and they have a lot of impact mid game. So obviously you're just not going to have that impact for first 10 minutes. It's just not gonna happen. But you have to accept that, and then once you get through it, you're literally chilling.
Okay. That is really well said, and I actually do like it is definitely a matter of consistency. So I think you can agree in a sense that like top lane is a very unforgiving lane where if you do make those mistakes, you are going to get pinned down for it. Like it's going to bite you really, so to speak.
Yeah, it does. Like it certainly does. Like you just have to like, and especially on Garen though, it feels really nice because you have Flash and Ghost to cover up for any mistakes, and we're even going Cosmic Insight now. So we even have our sums like more often. So like I'm literally finding myself putting myself in situations where I'll trade Aatrox R for my Ghost, and it will feel like I can just play the lane so much easier because I don't really need my Ghost in laning phase to do anything. I'm not going to kill him with it, and I'm just literally trading my sums and even like just any CS I can get to like literally absorb the jungler so that my ADC can play the game for free. Like it's a really good strategy, I think. Like I don't know, it just seems strong to me. I feel like when I play mid lane, I have even less impact than top lane because I just get perma shoved by many mid champs. Like many mages will just shove me in repeatedly, and I'll never have prio, and my jungler will lose their mind. So if I go top,
Yeah.
like if I'm getting pushed in, like it doesn't really matter because nothing's really happening top side. Like we're just I'm farming under the turret. Like it's usually okay. Like if there's no top row. So yeah.
He can still, you know, proxy you or go herald with his jungler or thing like this, you know. So I think it's still really bad if you get pushed all the time in top lane. Or you can take demolish and take plates off your tower as well, you know.
Of course, yeah. There's certain times like I'll get like that's why I say I would go Conqueror Ignite versus like Viper Riven because I need to stop him from doing proxying and stuff like that. Because if he does it, he literally gets 11 CS a minute. So like yeah, sure, like that's definitely true. But I don't think those situations, well, especially in North America, are very common. Yeah.
So I hear all the time, I have people coming into my stream, and I'm going to give a shout out to Mew here because like everyone asks me, hey, what do you think about Mew's proxy Garen strategy? I'm like, I'm asking myself, does this guy do this every game? And like I think to myself, I'm like, you know what? That is a unique aspect of top lane, being able to achieve the proxy, keeping someone at tower, and then literally just goofing around mystery machine style in the enemy jungle. We even have people like Sunlight who will do it level 1, the level 1 proxy, so we got some interesting gentlemen here about the whole proxy Garen, and I want to hear from you two your experiences and like what do you guys think, why do you do it, and like why it works for our Garens at home who maybe don't understand it as well.
Okay, so basically the problem about top lane is being counterpicked and the early game with Garen, you know, you can't really lane well against most top laners. So you have to find ways out of the lane, just like Singed. So proxying is a good option for that. So with X-Flash, you can just bypass like 4 or 5 seconds with the walls, and you can take the way off, which is really good. So you can get six creeps for 0 health, and you can farm like this and scale in the game, which you can't really do if you are against Vayne or Camille or some counter pick.
Excellently explained. That's awesome. Thank you, Mew, for that. So there is the proxy that happens when you guys get the priority, or like you find yourself like at their tower while they're backing. There's many opportunities to initiate your proxy. Obviously, you do have that priority. The most interesting iteration, I think, has been watching a Sunlight stream and him literally just going and sneaking behind his opponent level 1 and like literally just executing a tower. So that you want to run this one by me?
Yeah. Well, I want to rewind a second. I just want to say that I feel like top lane Garen is better just because mid lane as a role revolves around priority. And Garen just can't do it anymore. After Dorn Shield nerfed, after second wind nerf, if you're against a mage, like a heavy poke mage, they get poke you out, get priority, invade jungle. Your jungle dies, then your jungle's typing you, hey, yo, what are you doing, bro? You're not doing anything. So I think top lane takes off that pressure. Sure, the resources go into top lane, but as top lane as a whole, they can't affect as much more the map, more so than mid lane can with their duo jungle. And so what for top lane in these tougher matchups, let's say Darius, let's say Fiora, these ones that can really hard, pressure you early. Nico on hit Nico. I'm telling you now, if you're against a Lauren on hit Nico, you just want to scream. So I'd go behind the wave. I hold 2 waves or 1 wave, and this will allow for a 2-wave crash, which leads into a 3-wave crash under my tower. So now I get 3 waves under my tower. They can't punish me as hard because it is a level 2 instead of a level 3, like range champion or Fiora, right? Fiora can't punish you if you're under the tower. Simple as that. Same thing with Darius. It allows you to get 3 waves automatically into a 4th wave push, which allows you to build up into the 5th wave bounce back. So it kind of totally go passes the entire early game just by taking the 30 seconds, going behind their tower and executing to the enemy tower. Now, of course, if the enemy character goes to stop you, it's good because your minion wave will crash on their tower. So they'll lose that whole minion wave. And if you get out, they're down a whole wave or close to that in XP, and you still get everything what I said before. Uh, of course, you probably don't want to do it if their jungle is starting topside. And that's sometimes the case where you just have to take the L and take the first blood.
Yeah, yeah.
But it comes with cost and reward.
Yeah.
So
He explained it really well. I know that some people out there are visual learners, so maybe what I'll do is I'll include a clip of it, maybe from Sunlight stream, because like it is definitely something you guys need to see visually to understand it. But the results are really crazy. When I saw it for the first time, I'm like, wow, this guy is engineering some galaxy level wave manipulation here. Yeah, so like proxying on Garen, as we said and as covered by all these gentlemen here, is something that you can utilize Garen top lane. That's something is ineligible for mid lane. So there is that for anybody at home who's trying to weigh, okay, should I go top Garen? Should I go mid Garen? Should I follow RISTE and Triton? Should I follow Mew, Palco, and Sunlight? You know, a little bit of food for thought there for anybody who's trying to decide and maybe is conflicted as to what lane to commit to. All right, that is awesome input, guys. Thank you guys so much for that topic. We will move on to actually, you know what? I'm out of Garen related topics. So like, I know I've assembled all of you guys here, and I know you guys talked about like 20 different topics on Discord before we had this gosh darn call. All right, so what else did we not talk about yet? What do you guys want to talk about now that we're all here? I'm gonna let you guys create the topic. We got some time left. You guys go for it.
oh jeez.
I'm wondering. I'm just wondering, like I know it's kind of everyone knows this already, but it's just sort of like I need to know. It's making me wonder. In Korea, every single Garen goes Flash Ignite, Conquer Nimbus Celerity every single game, no matter what. Maybe they'll go Phase Rush with like free boots into Vayne, and that's it. That is the one exception. Like they will always go Conquer. I go and watch these replays. These guys are like solo killing each other level 2 every single game, like all the time. And it just makes me wonder because it's like I have this such a well developed like identity on what my champ does, and then I go and see and I watch these players play, and I'm like, this is nothing at all what I thought that I should be doing, right? Like this is
Right.
not, and apparently this is the better region, right? Like this is the better region compared to NAE West, and you know these are the people who win worlds all the time, and this is how they pilot Garen, and it's like I never saw him as an early game champ, so like why do Koreans do that? Like what is the reason? Why? Because I feel like Garen is a scaling champ. His W gives him resistances based on CS. Like he he scales well with Stride and stuff. He can go scaling runes, but they never do. They always try and contest and try and get prio and stuff like that. And I just never really understood it. Like even though it's the permafight region, I feel like Garen is still a scaling champ, so I don't understand why they fight like that.
It's something that has definitely perplexed me for some time, and I really wish we could have gotten 3Con on here, but he never got back to my email, so unfortunately we'll have to get him in for a future episode. I was even going to get Paul W. Chung, another Garen streamer here, to help translate for us, because he also speaks, he's bilingual, Korean, English, and that would have been really great to have him here, because I would love to ask him the same type of question based on the confusion that you're having right now. Why does every Korean Garen play hyper aggressive? And I've never played in the server myself. I don't know if you gentlemen have ever played on Korea yourselves. Maybe one of you guys have. I don't know. But yeah, like it's like permafight on that server, just like Palco said. Is it that environment and culture that's facilitating Garen players just to play perma aggressive, or what do you guys think? Is there any is it just like stagnation, innovation, right? What do you guys think is cooking up here?
Cooking up in Korea, or
Yeah,
like,
yeah, in Korea specifically, like with like Conqueror Garen, just like constantly.
well, I think Koreans are like their whole identity in that server is let's win in the first 4 minutes of the game. And if you pick Garen with like Flash and Ghost and you concede early game, then their top laner is like, okay, yo, Jim, let's go get their red buff right now. So then they go and they take the red buff, and now your jungler's typing to you, yo, what happened? So I think it's the whole part of they really want to just snowball the game from like minute 2 to 3 to the point where they're just always trying to kill each other, always trying to make the game so unwinnable for the other team that it's like more cutthroat action instead of NA is like, I'll pick up a CS or it's not as pressuring as it would be in Korea. There's some NA top laners that do that. Two of them would be like TF Blade, really good at punishing, as well as Dragoon. He's really good at punishing. If you ever played against Dragoon Darius, oh, that guy's
I
good at
have.
Darius, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's more so the fact that I think they're more coordinated in Korea to use these early game leads of getting prio and translate that into other areas of the game faster than NA can.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. It just feels really weird because I've just always thought Garen just can't even do that. But somehow they make it work in the highest elos there. So yeah.
This is
Also, some guy in chat said it's aggressive and you just have to match it, and he said he's a Korean. So I don't know if it's firsthand, support witness, but he's just saying
knows.
that everybody's just really aggressive and they just have to fight each other, and if they don't fight each other, then the person who backed out of the fight loses.
and this individual plays on the Korea server. They said, so well, I'll take their word for it. But yeah,
I'm not over there, so I can't say.
yeah, no. Okay,
And that's
okay.
what I'm wondering because I can't find an answer really. Yeah.
Okay, and it's interesting too because like I feel like sometimes their commitment to conquer like goes past every single strand of logic possible. Like I watch I go on Domisum. I'm like, okay, Korean Garen versus Quinn top lane, Conqueror Ignite Nimbus Cloak versus Quinn top lane, and I'm like, are you planning on activating this rune at some point in the laning phase? Is it like 20 minutes? They're playing the long game here because I don't think they're activating that rune at all versus Quinn unless it's a stage game and the Quinn's not going to use Vault or it's broken on their keyboard. I'm like, this is a player base of dedication. They swear by the Conqueror. They abide by the Conqueror. So it's interesting sometimes. Like I've seen Garen players start Cole with no pot versus Darius top lane, and like that okay, like I understand the bravery and I understand the logic. Okay, you want to front that lane phase out, but taking Conqueror into Quinn top lane, like I have questions. I need answers. It just doesn't make sense to me. So it does. Yeah, I think of it the same way as you do, Falco. It's rather interesting.
I think they take the mental into consideration, because if they can kill the opponent level 2, maybe he will rage quit, and it's a free win, So that's maybe the way Koreans do that, That's the only thing I guess. I can guess.
I could see that.
It might be like a comfort thing too. Yeah, there's some Garen players who don't like or think phase rush is weak or just don't invest enough games into it. Like when I work with my coaching clients, for example, I always have to ask them, hey, do you have any experience with phase rush? Because like I'm not gonna put a coaching client on phase rush first game if I think it's gonna work versus the like Trundle, right? For example, because I think phase rush is busted versus Trundle, like Olaf. But if my client's never played the playstyle before, they're not gonna know anything about the sequencing. So like I do think it's a developed playstyle that somebody adds into their arsenal, and then maybe perhaps Korean players are just like too much in their comfort zone, which is ironic because I feel like Koreans innovate like the most compared to like North Americans who like stay too close into the comfort zone and like they don't innovate. Like that's why we'll see like same reused comps over and over. There's like not much innovation. So I'm confused. Maybe it isn't the case. Maybe there is something else going on. I don't know. That's just my personal thoughts on it.
Well, I think like looking more into it, right, is that Conquer versus Quinn, let's say it's like that matchup, right? You're never going to use Conquer. I don't think that's ever going to work out in your favor. I think it's
Nope.
more so the fact that if I was the Quinn, I get early prio, I go to invade their jungle. Well, if I'm playing Ghost, Flash, Garen with Phase Rush, I can't help that guy. That guy is dead meat. But if I play Flash Ignite with Conquer and I'm
Mm.
like Viego jungle versus Vi jungle, we can focus the Vi down, get a reset on Vi. I can scrap now because I have Ignite and Flash with Conquer, of course. And so we can help kill that Vi and then translate that into Quinn. you know. Otherwise, I think like there's just no reason for the rune besides
Mm.
those scenarios of really scrappy like fighting in the jungle.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense actually.
Hey, I actually agree with that too. It's not more so using the rune for the lane itself, but like the what if, like, okay, what if a fight breaks out? Like, I don't know how early
Yeah.
team fights are starting on Korea server, but I'm led to believe that things kick up pretty quickly or quicker than maybe North America, maybe on a level US. But I don't know. How like Mew has been telling me that like laning phase does get dragged out, especially top lane on EUS too. So maybe there is a bigger difference between like Korea and US North America. Maybe we're similar in a sense. I don't know. Mew, do you agree with what we're talking about here, or do you have anything to
Yeah,
disagree?
I do agree. But I think Koreans like know that early game is really the best thing to win in League of Legends actually, because when you die like in laning phase level 2 or level 3, it's really bad, you know. But when you die like minute 10, it's not that bad. It's bad, but not too much, you know. When you die early, it's like you want to you want to surrender, you want to lose the game. You can't really do much, especially as Garen. You don't have the tools to win anymore. If you die once, basically it's already lost, basically. So you want to avoid that at all cost. And I think Koreans want to make this situation happen, to kill the opponent, so they can cheese the game and win really fast.
That's at the I agree. Like with the concept of cheesing and conqueror, because like I was reading Molecule's tweet, so because he was like tweeting about Double Zero Garen, and he defined Conqueror Garen in a way I didn't think about. But it resonates with what you said, Mew. How like, and he said, I'm paraphrasing this, like when you're investing in Conqueror Garen, you're putting a bet on yourself. You're putting a bet on yourself, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna get ahead this game, and if you lose that bet, well, you went in the negative. You lost out on your money. You lost the pot." But with Phase Rush, it's like even if you do fall behind, you still have the failsafe of scaling. Like one death with Phase Rush is not as bad as one death with Conqueror Garen. Like because like levels for spin count, because spin count is such a hard priority. It's such a necessitation on Conqueror Garen, because like if you're behind on spins with Conqueror Garen, good luck trying to make the rune work. It's just like it's not going to be working for you. So I like that. I like that a lot. I think we're all on the same page when it comes to Conquer Garen, and like some of our viewers in chat are probably saying the same thing as we are. So yeah, there you have it, guys. Like Korea server may be a little dissected. And of course, until we can get some actual Korean Garen mains on this Gosh Darn podcast to hear it from them, we're just speculating right now. But that is what we think. Let us know in the comments or Twitch chat what you guys think, if we're right or we're just like back crazy, or we're just literally coping. I don't know. Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about on this topic before we move on to the next one?
I have another topic actually that
Okay.
Larry Lobster has been asking about a lot in chat.
Okay.
Most of our thoughts on Garen Jungle and whether it's viable, what elos it can go up to, what runes, what items. What do you guys think on that? What do you guys think on Garen Jungle?
Dude, ask Sunlight, man. This guy has won games on that in the highest elo in the game. Go ask him.
What do you think, Sunlight?
Oh my god.
Garen jungle. I
Yeah.
think Garen jungle, honestly, man. I'm sorry, Larry. It's not that good, man. It's pretty
It's bad.
bad.
It's bad. You can't say it's good. It's
It's
bad.
bad. It's just the fact because the whole point of jungle right now is ganking for like bot or mid or getting like that early proud to go invade, and Garen can't do any of that. Garen can't invade. Garen can't really gank well at all, especially early game. He's terrible. So the best case scenario is like taking Conquer and trying to have a scuffle in, I guess, the scuttle. But other than that, it's such a low econ role, and Garen cannot function on low economy that it just makes the character pretty underwhelming. Now, I was thinking of if you want to do it, I thought it would be a funny thing if you just go Conquer Garen with Water Walk and Celerity, and you rush Greaves and then double Zeal. Just skip the stride and just go full movement speed and have your Conqueror makeup and damage. That way you can get around faster and farm and stuff like that. And I've gotten a couple, I played a game of that today. It felt pretty good early, but later on in the game it kind of falls off because again, it's a low econ role. And a lot of these other junglers function way better on one item than Garen does. I can't really endorse it for you. Sorry, Larry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Larry, and like
So sad.
I've heard you out many
You
times
can play it in
before.
bronze though, for sure.
Yeah,
You could definitely do that.
yeah. I try like don't try this at home, kids. Is essentially what we're all telling you here. You know, as you guys know, I'm a member of the League Partner Program, so like when I'm able, I'm not trying to my own horn here, but I've talked to devs about it like this, and like it's always been on my mind. Okay, should I talk to Riot Games about Garen jungle buffs? And like when they buffed Garen jungle, I was on that. I was on that. I was literally inhaling that. I'm like, okay, we got to make Garen jungle good. Like they buffed it. It's literally so close to being good. It's so close to being a C tier pick. If they just buffed it a little bit more, like I think like my issues with Garen jungle is that like the first clear is okay, but like as monsters start getting up in HP, like the second clear and the third clear feels really bad. Like this isn't even accounting to like Garen's navigation of the jungle. Like he can't go over walls. It just feels really bad. Like he falls off really hard, and I've always like it's such a struggle to keep up on champion levels the same level as your opponent. It depends on season to season, but that's like my personal experiences. And I've thought like, okay, what if I was to pitch ideas to Riot Games to buff Garen jungle so it actually is viable? And then I pause and I halt myself and I say, you know what? I don't know if this is the right thing to do, because like I try to be observant of like how Riot Games balances champions, and like a problem that I have witnessed in the past is if a champion is too good at too many roles, what they do is they intervene and they nerf some stuff. A good example of this is Set. Remember when Set was Mr. Omni-Man? He could like play like 5 different roles. I'm like, that is a best case example of when a champion can just do too much good and just do it all. And I think
Gragas,
yeah, Gragas. Yeah, Gragas is another contender. I think he's like the closest champion right now to like Omni-Man right now, right? Or like could just do everything.
Silas has had the same issue in the past too before, right? He could go to like 4 roles pretty much.
Right. And
Used to
like
be able to see Silas support.
exactly, Silas. And like Riot has made big decisions on champions, so like literally got a champion a certain role when it was an issue, like Camille. When you guys remember Camille jungle? I don't like talking about that, but I remember those days, and it was really bad. So like I think to myself like, okay, Garen's good in top lane. His win rate is ridiculous in mid lane when it comes to lower elos. It's a higher right now in mid lane than his top lane. And it's understandable because if you lock in Garen low elo in mid lane, it might be the mid laner's first time playing versus Garen mid. There's no way for a player to really understand how to punish that. It's gonna be a tough experience for them. So I always ask myself, okay, I have influence with Riot Games and pitching ideas, but should I have them get Garen buffed so he's good at jungle, and then he's technically good in 3 roles? Is that too much for the champion? What do you guys think? Do you guys think
Let's
I
buff
should?
Garen jungle. Let's
Yeah.
get Garen jungle good. So when I proxy, I can take the camps faster after they buff my camp health.
Oh my god.
No, I think
It
that
bumps
will be
mid lane
broken
too.
actually.
Just you steal the Raptors right after, you're good to go.
Exactly. Dude, I missed that. Dude, at
Oh
level
my
1,
God.
you used to be able to shove the wave level 1. Like suddenly, like literally told everyone you can just like go E level 1, just like push the wave in, and then just take like a few raptors. It's so funny.
I'll tell you what happened. Sunlight got into one of the Riders games and was witnessing that, and then the Riders like, nope, we're not having that anymore.
so if I just come in, I eat the whole wave, I go over, I take 3 Raptors, and the jungle would be so pissed. I come back level 2
yeah.
smiling.
Yeah, they saw Trinimir players doing it. They saw Garen players doing it. They're like,
Yeah.
no,
They
we gotta just cut that out. Yeah,
I do think
go ahead.
for the Garen jungle, I think it's in a pretty good spot. I wouldn't really change it. I think it's the same thing with Darius. Darius got a little bit of a buff towards jungle as well. With his bleed damage, pretty sure does more damage now to monsters as well. And I think it leads up the possibility of getting flex. Same thing with Garen. I think if you have an unplayable matchup for Garen for whatever reason, you pick Garen, they pick Camille, you could send it jungle. You could send it jungle, then pick Darius and top lane to counter the Camille. I think that's the aspect of when you would put it jungle. I don't think you would ever pick it to do jungle itself. It's more so the fact that, oh, I got the worst matchup ever. So now I'm going to get a good matchup in top lane and a okay matchup in the jungle. Same thing with Darius. Darius would be the same thing. It's like if I pick Darius for top lane and they pick Sejuani, Darius was an insane Sejuani counter just because it can follow it top lane and then it can also be flexed into the jungle. And it's crushed it in the jungle as well because it just fight better than it. Not a lot of people played it as much though, which is kind of sad. But that was like one scenario where it's not a champion that's made for jungle, but it can definitely be put in there. And Garen definitely should be in that same boat of it's not made for jungle, but it has features where, you know, it can be in there. It can chill in there. I think it's in a
Okay.
good state, honestly.
Okay. Okay. Fair point. I like the assessment there. I feel like he's on the cusp of greatness. He just needs like maybe a little nudge, in my opinion. But I do like the aspect. Like I think that's one of the reasons why like as a mid lane Garen player, I still will occasionally ask, hey, mid, do you want to swap? Because like swapping up lanes, especially when you're not like barred from doing it competitive at solo queue, right? It's a nice escape. It's a nice champion select strategy to really help you in situations where you couldn't get last pick because of like, you know, what side of the map you were on. And you can like flex the solo lanes like that. That is the advanced solo queue strat. But like being able to escape the jungle is something I haven't tried myself. Do I dare try it? I don't know if I'm courageous enough to, but suddenly brings up a great strategy. It brings up a great point. Okay, guys, I think we have time for maybe one more small topic before we wrap this up. So I'm going to let you guys decide when it might be. If you guys don't have any ideas, I might have one. But I want to give the floor to you guys if you guys want to talk to anything, you know, about your audiences with us. What do you guys got in mind?
And how's the Grasp of Undying Garen community going?
Yeah, who's our club members right now? Let's have a check-in.
I'm down. I'm down to be.
I'm down.
I'm
I've
down to be
actually
the
done
sole
it. I've
person.
done it versus Cho'Gath because I was against AP Cho'Gath,
Yes.
and he did 6,000 quadrillion damage. So I was like, I need extra healing. I need second wind. I need D shield. I need I need all this stuff because this guy was doing 200 each Q. So I was like, okay, I need grasp because like there's like, and then if I spin on him, he just autos me multiple times and slows me. So I was like, I went to versus Cho'Gath and I just 1v9. So it was good. Yeah.
I think Grasp is like really good in only side spin pressure against tanks. Like if I'm against like a Poppy or a Renekton
Yeah.
or anyone that you can free hit like a Cho'Gath, usually Phaedrus doesn't feel that good against them, but like a Grashly Undying, especially with the Ruby pot, so it does even more damage than if you would have gone Dorans because it scales all your max HP. It it feels so much better because you're just free farming HP off this guy into your Demolish to take plates and split push the entire game, and he can't kill you because you're way more tankier than normal phase rush Garen. Of course, you don't have the mobility, but you definitely have more tankiness in that aspect to make up for it. And I think it plays to the style of more of a split push than a team fighter. Phase Rush has the bonus of being able to do both as the game progresses, which I think is probably the biggest benefit of Phase Rush. But I think if you wanted to go for the pure split push strat, I think Grasp of the Undying is the best rune you can go, honestly. Especially because you get all the scaling trees of OG Unflinching, Second Wind, Condition, Demolish. That's the only one you could take. Just take Demolish. But I think it's pretty good.
That's right. Yeah, you know, all you people in Twitch chat, I know you guys visit all these streams being like, hey, can I go shield bash on Garen? Is that good? No, man, you just take Demolish, all right? Stop it.
Take second or Font of Life.
Oh my, yeah, Font of Life,
Oh.
Echoes of Helia, Font of Life, Garen. I have SRO calling me right
Rylai's.
now. Hold on, guys, really quick. Yeah, you guys could, yeah, you can make it into YouTube tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
I have yet to actually try the rune out more myself. I think that I need to try it. I think you guys have been bringing up great points. I've been seeing you guys post screenshots. It's convincing enough for me. I've gotten several people here on the Zeal train. I need to reciprocate and get on the grass train. All I can say is I'm really happy that Garen players have evolved to a point where they choose Grasp of the Undying situationally. I have conversed with many Garen players in the past. Like, I'm talking Season 9 Garen. They're like, yeah, we should take Grasp of the Undying versus Darius because we can get health. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, that's great and all, but like, what's the cost for getting a stack of Grasp? Getting half health? Maybe being on Death Timer, right? So like I'm really proud of the Garen Maids community for now understanding that there is criteria for taking Grasp of the Undying. And when it lines up and all the stars align, that's great and all. You guys make it work. And I want to emphasize that, like, you know, of course, all the people who are talking about Grasp here don't choose it every game. But when the situation occurs, when it happens, and you guys can take it into a legitimate matchup, it really does shine. So yes, Grasp of the Undying, I do agree, can work sometimes. And honestly, I need to try it out more myself. I've been neglecting it quite a bit. Triton, Mew, do you guys have any interjections on that?
I have not tried Grasp at all myself. I mean,
Yeah.
I play mostly mid, so I don't really know who would be even good at it. Maybe like Galio is the only thing I can even think of. It's like the only potential one I even pick it into. But I mean, the times I get filled top, I probably should just at least try it into like Cho'Gath and stuff, because I can completely see the usefulness of it there. You can just stack it for free.
Dude, in season 9, I know you missed it,
Yeah.
but like in season 9, before they nerfed on flinching, it used to be insane versus Lysandra. I would lock it in versus Lysandra, and I felt like I was countering the champion instead of the champion countering me. But ever since they nerfed on flinching and you get like 5% less tenacity, it's been so hard to land those Qs because of the micro difference.
You just like the little stuns, yeah.
It's been a lot tougher. But back in the day, it was the sauce mid lane.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah,
That sounds amazing.
I feel so bad for you because you missed it.
Yeah, but hey, maybe they'll buff it again someday.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Mew, have you dipped into Grasp at all?
Honestly, I haven't tried it, but maybe I will try it now to see against Shogat or something like this to split push. Honestly, I can see something happen with Trinity. You know, the proc Trinity and the Grasp at the same time. It can be good, but the thing is, I don't see why it will be better than Conqueror at this point. You know, so I will try, but honestly, I'm not 100% convinced.
Okay, and that reservation is totally valid because honestly, I could resonate with you, Mio. I had so many people coming in and be like, hey, can you go Grasp this game? Hey, can you try Grasp this game? Hey, can you play Grasp this game? Hey, RISTE, if I pay you $50, will you play Grasp this game? I'm like thinking, why are so many people obsessed with Grasp of the Undying? You know, have you guys met Conquer? Have you guys met Phase Rush? What is this hyperfixation going on? You know, so like honestly, like if we had this podcast 3 weeks ago, like I would be wearing the badge with Mew right now. I'd be like, yep, this guy gets me 100%. This guy right here, he gets me. But you know, I've been changing. I've been trying to approach things with a more open mind. And you know, you guys caught me at a good time. So like let me say I am hearing you guys loud and clear about Grasp of the Undying. And this applies to the people in chat who have been harping on this about Grasp for years. I hear you guys too. This is a great topic. I'm really glad that Sunlight opened up this can of Resolve, so to speak.
Well, I do want to say one more thing about the grass. I want to say I like grass, not so much for the grass. The rune is great, but the most broken about it is the entirety of the resolve tree. Having every single resolve rune is so good comparatively to now all of the conquerors tree because Triumph got nerfed, tenacity got nerfed. You can't even take the attacks, but it doesn't help your. You could take the tenacity technically if they had no CC, right? There'd be no point taking tenacity, but it doesn't help you spin. Cut down's been nerfed. Last Stand's been nerfed. Ku's been nerfed. Every rune in that tree's been nerfed. Say resolve sort of, but I think the runes are better in the resolve tree more so than the conqueror tree.
I am so surprised, and I'm saying this as a side comment. I'm so surprised Demolish has gone years without being touched. It's so strange. Like I have people saying how sleeper OP this rune is, and it feels like it because how you can accelerate your lead without like how the bounty system works right now. You know, we have people like the boss like exploiting the bounty system by just going for plates, purely just going for plates without increasing their bounty. I've been talking to my coaching clients about it, and like I want people to know more about it because I feel like that is legitimately how you can have more impact at solo queue. Just managing your bounty as like a 5-head strategy. Like Demolish is the rune to start cooking that, and I'm like really surprised myself how the rune has been untouched for such a long time. I think it is one of the most insane runes in this game for momentum. And like since Garen gets so much HP and so many items give HP, it goes hand in hand. And I think like that's alluding to like what Sunlight was talking about, like how the synergistic capabilities of Resolve is kind of like unmatched in a sense when it comes to other trees. Every rune works so perfectly with one each other, right? Grasp gives you HP. conditioning helps create your effective HP. Demolish works off your HP. Overgrowth gives you more HP. It's insane. Like, downright insane. I think Precision's maybe, like, the close second, I suppose. But, like, Resolve, like, its design is unmatched, I think. It's been so insanely powerful. Do you guys agree with me on that? Or do you guys have any thoughts on that in particular about Resolve?
Demolish is broken versus tanks and Shen and, you know, champs. Like, let's say, like, you're playing against Malphite or something. You can never kill him, right? So the way you can punish him is you can try and get a hull cannon under the tower, and then you can walk up to the tower and then just start hitting it and get Demolish with hull. And you'll literally do, like, 3/4 of the tower's HP. And, like, that's all you need to do on repeat, and they can't really stop you. Like, it's pretty insane, like, actually. Like, Demolish is, like you said, it's really OP, yeah. Like, just Resolve is good. Yep.
I agree 100%. I need to try grass more. All right, gentlemen. We've been at this for about 90 minutes. We've covered a lot of topics. And, like, honestly, I would love to have this continue. Maybe in the future, who knows when, we'll have you guys reconvene with, you know, a then and now with a future episode. But I have been so impressed with not only you guys showing up in such a timely manner, but also coming out, taking time out of your day, and really sharing your perspective. I think this is such a cool experience that not a lot of Garen communities get to experience. I think the Garen mains community has been lacking something like this. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming on to be able to talk with me on this. I'm going to let you guys say your goodbyes. Any final statement from you guys? I'll hear it from one of you guys at a time. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Sunlight, Mew the King, Triton, Palco Paint, give them a round of applause. They've been an awesome group, especially for our first episode of Knights of Demacia. Yeah, go ahead and say goodnight, guys.
Yeah, good night. It was fun talking.
Thanks
Yep.
for having me.
Good night,
Rist.
Thank you
guys.
so much. Thank you so much for having me. Great time. Had a great time.
I had an
Appreciate it a bunch.
I had an awesome time, guys. Thank you guys so much. All right, I'm gonna leave it here. Thanks, guys, everyone, so much for watching from everyone's community. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for being part of the experience.
Yeah.
Paco's
Bye-bye.
waving. You just gotta imagine it.
I am waving. I literally waved IRL. That's the crazy thing. I literally waved IRL.
Just a fair warning, if you invite me back, I'm going to tell you to build glacial